A woman in a Navy uniform stood alone at a dusty bus stop, holding her breath so her tears wouldn't fall. People passed her without looking twice, except for one little girl with pigtails and a pink backpack. The girl tugged at the woman's sleeve, looked up with big, hesitant eyes, and whispered words that froze every heartbeat around them. "Please don't cry, ma'am. You can borrow my dad." And that was how everything began. At a bus stop where a broken soldier met a small stranger with the purest heart, and a single sentence changed 3 lives forever. The bus station smelled like dry diesel and winter dust. Commander Alina Reyes stood stiff, her hands trembling even though she tried to hide it. She had just returned from deployment, 8 months at sea, storms, loneliness, silence, but none of that hurt like what awaited her now. She had received the message on her last night on the ship. Her mother had passed away. No warning, no final call, just gone. And Alina had no one else left. No father, no siblings, no spouse, no children. The world suddenly felt too big for one person to hold. Her duffel bag slipped from her shoulder as she tried to keep herself from falling apart. She blinked rapidly, forcing her tears back. Soldiers don't cry in public, especially officers. But today, rank felt useless. People walked around her, their heads buried in their own worlds. No one noticed her shaking hands. No one noticed how tightly she clutched the letter announcing the funeral. Grief had a way of making even crowded places feel empty. Except for one pair of small brown eyes. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, stood a few feet away, watching Alina as if she could feel something the adults were blind to. The girl hesitated before stepping closer. She held a lollipop in one hand and a small stuffed elephant in the other. Her backpack strap kept sliding off her shoulder. She didn't seem scared of the tall Navy woman with medals on her chest. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Alina tried to smile, but the corners of her mouth refused to lift. "I'm fine, sweetheart." "You're not." The little girl said it softly, like she wasn't blaming her, just telling the truth. Alina exhaled shakily. "It's just been a difficult day." The girl looked at her for a moment, then nodded like she understood sadness far better than she should at her age. She turned and waved her hand. "Daddy." A man in overalls, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes and the hands of someone who works hard every day, hurried over, carrying a lunchbox and a mop handle sticking out of his bag. A janitor, maybe. His clothes smelled faintly of bleach. His daughter tugged on his sleeve urgently. "Daddy," she said. The man turned to Alina, noticing her uniform, noticing her holding back tears in a way most adults ignored. "Ma'am, is everything all right?" Alina swallowed. She didn't want to break in front of strangers. She didn't want pity. But something about the man's gentle eyes, eyes that looked like they had seen their own share of storms, made her chest crack open. "My mother passed away," she whispered. "I just found out. I don't know how to go home to an empty house." The little girl's face softened instantly. She let go of her father's sleeve, stepped closer, and placed her small hand on Alina's glove. "Please don't cry, ma'am. You can borrow my dad." The bus station fell silent, at least in Alina's heart. Borrow my dad. The innocence of it hit her harder than a wave at sea. The father knelt down beside his daughter, surprised but not scolding her. Instead, he looked at Alina again, with kindness, not awkwardness. "My name's Mark," he said quietly. "This here is Lily. If you need someone to talk to or just someone to sit with, we're right here." And that was how Alina found herself on a bench between a janitor who smelled like hardworking honesty and a little girl who swung her legs while holding her hand. Lily asked questions about the Navy, how big the ship was, whether dolphins really swam beside it, whether she got scared at night. Alina answered everyone, and with each answer, the heaviness in her chest loosened slightly. Mark listened quietly, offering a nod or a small smile whenever she paused. Alina didn't realize how long they sat like that until the sun shifted and buses came and went. She felt something she hadn't felt in months: safety. When her bus arrived, she stood slowly. "Thank you, both of you. I don't know why you stopped, but I'm glad you did." Lily hugged her leg tightly, the stuffed elephant smushed between them. "Come back, okay? My dad makes the best hot chocolate." Alina laughed softly, brushing a tear away. "I'll try." But as she stepped onto the bus, she felt Lily's words echo in her chest like a promise she didn't know she needed. "Borrow my dad." It was the kindest sentence she had ever heard. The funeral came and went in a blur. Alina stood alone beside the closed casket, holding a single white flower. People from the neighborhood came, old classmates, distant relatives she barely remembered, but none of them stayed afterward. None of them asked if she had eaten. None invited her home. When she returned to her mother's old house, the silence was unbearable. Every picture, every book, every cup on the shelf reminded her of the woman she'd just lost. The loneliness pressed down on her like a weight she couldn't lift. On the second night, unable to bear the quiet, she found herself scrolling through her phone, stopping on the number Mark had written on a small scrap of paper before she left the bus station. "If you ever need company," he'd said, "or if Lily wants to show you her drawings, she already thinks you're a hero." Alina hesitated. She wasn't used to reaching out. She was used to being strong, being the one others depended on. But tonight she needed someone. She sent a single text. "Hi, it's Alina. If you and Lily are free, maybe I could stop by." She didn't expect the quick reply. "We're making hot chocolate. Lily says it's an emergency and you have to come." A faint smile touched her lips for the first time in days. When she arrived at their small apartment, Lily practically tackled her with excitement. "You came. Daddy put extra marshmallows because you look like someone who needs extra marshmallows." Mark chuckled awkwardly. Her words, not mine. They ate, talked, and for the first time in a long time, Alina felt held. Not physically, but emotionally. This home smelled like love, warm, imperfect, safe. Days turned into weeks. Alina repaired her mother's house, and every evening she visited Mark and Lily. They became her anchor. Lily insisted that Alina read her stories, help her draw stars, and watch cartoons. Mark cooked dinners, and they laughed more than Alina expected she ever could. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Mark washed dishes while Alina dried them. The room was quiet, but not uncomfortably so. Outside, rain pattered gently against the window. "You're doing better," Mark said softly. "I can see it." Alina nodded. "Because of you, because of both of you." He shook his head slightly. "You don't owe us anything." "I know," she whispered, "but I'm grateful. Your daughter, she saved me without even knowing me." Mark smiled, looking down at the soap bubbles. "Lily sees things most adults don't. She lost her mom when she was 4. Maybe she recognized something in you." Alina inhaled sharply. "I didn't know." "Most people don't ask," he shrugged gently. "We've been doing okay, but having you around, it feels like something healed in this house." Silence settled between them, warm, not heavy. "Mark," Alina said quietly, "I don't want to borrow your family anymore." He looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" She placed the towel down, her voice trembling but hopeful. "I want to be part of it, if you'll have me." Mark stared at her for a moment, long enough for her heart to beat painfully in her chest. Then he stepped closer, brushing a tear from her cheek the same way Lily had at the bus stop. "Yeah," he said, voice low and steady. "We'd like that." A small voice came from the hallway. I told you, Lily whispered sleepily, hugging her stuffed elephant. She needed us. Elena turned, tears falling freely now, and opened her arms. Lily ran into them, laughing softly. And in that moment, in a small apartment lit by warm yellow lamps, with rain tapping at the windows and the scent of hot chocolate still lingering, Elena realized something life-changing. Family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one that finds you when you're breaking. Sometimes it's offered by a little girl who whispers, "Please don't cry, you can borrow my dad." And sometimes borrowing becomes forever,